COVID-19 has impacted nearly every aspect of American life, and that includes the price of meat.
I've certainly never seen anything like this in my lifetime. Beef prices at the wholesale level are as high as we have in our recorded data. So this is certainly something way outside the norm.
To understand what's going on and where meat prices could be headed, we need to understand the meat supply chain. Typically, farmers raise the livestock until they hit their market weight. Then they send them off to processing plants or slaughterhouses, where the animals are killed and butchered into cuts of meat that are then sent to distributors, the middlemen, who then sell the product to supermarkets, restaurants, and others in the food service industry, which is where U.S. consumers usually buy meat. That's the way it works under normal circumstances. But during the pandemic, a bottleneck formed here, at the processing plants, which had become a hotspot for COVID-19 outbreaks.
There are new fears over meat packing facilities where workers continue to get sick.
More than 150 workers.
570 of them.
More than 800 plant workers tested positive for the virus.
This caused several plants to slow down or close entirely. As a result, beef and pork production capacity in the U.S. plummeted by 40% in April compared to last year. That sudden and dramatic drop had ripple effects throughout the supply chain.
The national processing capacity across all the plants in the United States is about 500,000 hogs a day. So if you're running at 40% below capacity, that means there's roughly 200,000 extra pigs that were gonna go to market that are still stuck on the farm. If you run at 40% below capacity for 5 days, which we did, then that's 1 million extra hogs that would have gone to market but instead stayed on the farm.
That left many hog farmers facing a heartbreaking decision.
For us, you're looking at 3,500 pigs potentially that are going to have to be euthanized. It's not something we're trained to do. It's definitely something we don't want to do.
The end result has been that fewer pigs and cows are entering slaughterhouses, which means less meat is making its way to grocery stores. That's led to meat shortages across the country, and those shortages have led to price hikes. To be clear, when we're talking about meat shortages, that doesn't mean your local store will run out of meat, but you may not find the variety or the prices that you're used to.
When you look at these wholesale prices for beef and pork, they're more than double of what they were a month ago. That doesn't necessarily mean a doubling of retail prices, but there is inflation on the way for the consumer.
Will Sawyer's bank lends to people and companies in the animal protein industry. He predicts that this summer, beef prices could be up 20% and pork could be even higher compared to 2019. To try and relieve the bottleneck, President Trump issued an executive order classifying meat processing plants as essential infrastructure. That allows the government to force the plants to stay open, and it appears things have begun to improve. Production capacity rebounded to around 75% in May compared to the year before. But part of the reason plants are still operating well below full capacity is that there are still workers too scared to go back inside the plants. Until the bottleneck is completely opened up, some farmers may go out of business, which would mean the meat shortages and price hikes could continue for months. Right now, Sawyer predicts farmers, also known as producers, will lose between $20 to $25 billion this year.
They're losing money to a degree that we haven't seen even during the Great Recession. That's going to cause some producers to exit the industry. And obviously that production may come back or it may not. But in the interim, we would see reduced meat supplies and the consumer environment's going to have to see more inflation, most likely as a result.